Hi from me, Jared Epstein, and welcome to another episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. On today's show, we get to know the Joburg-based musician Avi Levy, and we learn more about the Chai symbol with Rabbi Julia Margolis. First up, Chef Danny from the Culinary Judaics Academy explains to us how Jewish values and good recipes work together.
I'm from a very traditional home in Queens, New York. Jewishly, I would say we were in the conservadox range. So it's like the combination of conservative Judaism and orthodoxy. More on the conservative side. We grew up kosher. We walked to synagogue. And so really Judaism in the house was all about family, all about tradition, all about food and the culture and the beauty of the culture and how honestly it can help you on an everyday basis, which is everything what I'm putting into Culinary Judaics Academy. Food really was just something as a hobby for me. It really wasn't a vocation, wasn't a career. I've had multiple careers in my life. My first career, I started out in the entertainment industry and did it for about 13 years. I needed a gig, and so I ended up substitute teaching in a classroom. It actually was a special needs classroom, and these were high-functioning autistic, bipolar. Asperger's at the time was a classification, but the thing is, I chose to use cooking as the vehicle to teach these students because they all had behavior issues and they all had learning disabilities. And so what I did was every week I taught a review class using cooking as the vehicle to teach math and science and history and language arts. And very quickly I saw that I had tapped into something amazing because their behaviors got better, their academics went up. And my 2-week gig lasted 5 years. And I retired from that one classroom because I knew I had this special way of teaching that I needed to bring to thousands of classrooms. And so I retired from the one classroom, started my company, which then didn't incorporate Judaism. I went in 2009, to Valley Beth Shalom here in Los Angeles, California, a very large synagogue, to Rabbis Schulweis and Feinstein. And I said, I could do for you what I do in a secular environment with the math, science, history, but take that out and put Jewish studies in. And they said, that sounds like an amazing idea. The thing is, it's not just for kids, and I found that out. It's really, we teach from 3 years old to 103 years old. So it's literally for everybody. And it's not even just for Jews, because our program, our teaching pedagogy is, the foundation of it is about values. And everybody has values. Everybody lives with loving kindness. Everybody lives with repairing the world, right? Tikkun olam means repairing the world. We all have a role to be the best people we can be and live in the world in which we all want to live. So Culinary Judaics Academy was born, like I said, in 2009, but that was all in person. But once the pandemic came, it shut us down, right? We were 100% in person, and that wasn't possible. But what I did was I pivoted really quickly. I turned my backyard into a film studio. I hired a rock star staff of Jewish educators. We put together a really high-level written curriculum that goes with each and every video. And so we created 45 pieces of content in a robust library where each series, whether it's Israel or Jewish values or holidays, delves into those particular themes. And there's 7 workshops in each and every series, and the curriculum goes with it. And we make something in each one of those. Now the food could be very specific to the theme. So if I'm doing a Passover lesson and I make charoset or matzah brai or something like that, that's very specific. But if I'm doing Jewish values, acts of loving kindness, one of the things that we do is that we make sun-dried tomato risotto. Sun-dried tomato risotto, clearly not Jewish, but really yummy. But if you've ever made risotto, you know you got to put a lot of love and a lot of kindness in to make it correctly, because it takes a lot of patience and a lot of time. So this is our in, right? Our in is experientially, how can I use food to show you how we use loving kindness in not just food, but in Judaism, right? And how using loving kindness in your everyday life can make you a better person and the world around us a better place. One of the things we teach is that the Torah actually talks about, the fact that we need to give others before we think of ourselves. So, how do we take that lesson and bring it into today? Well, we need to take care of folks, because you and I, thank God, we're going to be good, but somebody may be a little bit down on their luck today. We need to help them. And so this act of making food, it may sound simple and it may sound, like we take it for granted, but it has the ability to help others. And when you go to these food shelter places with this food, to either donate it and leave or stay and help serve, you're helping so many. And the look on these people's faces and their expression of joy and thanks can really, put you in, the frame of mind that I need to be doing this on a regular basis. And again, this just goes back to the Rabbi Schulweis of Godding, right? Not just praying that these people get taken care of, but I'm going to help these people. And this is kind of what we're all about at Culinary Judaics Academy, is to help people understand that the Judaism and these lessons can transform a life. Maybe, hopefully yours, but most definitely other people as well. Our program is inclusive, right? It's for all ages, all levels of practice, and whatever affiliation you may have, even if you have no affiliation, right? And so it's for literally everyone. I think we provide an amazing service, an amazing, ability to learn and to engage. I could show you data like crazy that talks about, underengaged Jews and people who just, are craving, values-based learning. And, the fact that we're able to provide that and do so while also teaching a life skill and having some really yummy food, to me is the best thing I could possibly have done. You hope that when you go to work every day, that it's not work, right? That it's so rewarding that you wake up every morning going, this is what I'm meant to do. And it's taken me a long time to figure it out, but this is what I'm meant to do.
Avi Levy is a musician based in Joburg. Today, he shares more about his musical journey and how it's intertwined with his Jewish life.
I was born in 1988. I went to Yeshiva College, so a pretty traditionally observant, should I say. And I started playing guitar when I was 12. After school, I went to Israel for a few years, and that's really when my songwriting started. There's always been a strong Jewish connection for me, with highs and lows and ups and downs, as is life. And some of those themes come up in some of my songs. I remember when I was about 15 or 16, there was a particular rabbi, teacher, scholar at school that mentioned something that, in terms of one's talents being kind of a godly gift, and kind of needing or having a sense of using those talents for the good and to inspire and uplift people. That kind of always really stuck with me. And when I was in Israel for a few years after school, particularly there was this vast library, one of the largest Jewish libraries in the world. Spent a lot of time really digging into and researching, this kind of intersection and connection between, just themes of music within Judaism. And it's quite a central theme, and I've got lots of ideas and awesome historical sources and references that I learned. And I just realized there was a rich and deep historical connection between music and Judaism, and it really, really fulfilled me. And a lot of those themes started coming out in my music. A lot of these ideas that I really took a lot of inspiration from, and then kind of started turning them into songs and music that I wrote. Years earlier, when I was 13 or 14 and I was going for guitar lessons, there was a guitar teacher that taught me this tuning. Most guitars will be tuned into a standard tuning. And he taught me this alternative tuning where you drop all the strings and it It's like this very alternative type of tuning, and he just taught me the tuning, and that was it. Didn't teach me any structures or chords or scales or anything. And when I was in Israel in this inspirational phase, I started experimenting with this tuning, and I started coming up with chords, and I kind of started just playing and creating these patterns in this new tuning. Sounds quite different. It's actually, the tuning was actually the way my teacher described it. He called it a sitar tuning. So you actually see, and this is not how the direction I went with this tuning, but if you do that, you've got a kind of a sitar sort of sound. But yeah, I kind of started creating these chords. So it's got obviously a very acoustic sort of feel and sound. In a way, it was kind of its own genre and its own sound, because it was something that I was kind of just inventing and creating. Like, no one told me what to play or where to put my fingers. I was kind of just figuring it out. And a lot of the stuff, there were like a lot of these underlying metaphors. I was in this deeply growth-orientated environment, and growing and learning and developing. And also it was kind of this new tuning, this new learning, this new inspiration. And that's kind of how I started creating these patterns and chords, and then the music kind of came in. Then it all kind of just happened. It was all quite synchronous, and it was these religious ideas and themes that I was learning. It was this new tuning, and it was just kind of expressing this inspiration that was inside of me. And then it all kind of came together in terms of these songs that I started writing and playing for people. The first time I kind of chose to play one of my songs for a group of people was right at the end of my first year in Israel. It was the end of 2007, and it was a Saturday night, and I did quite a lot of preparation in kind of the build up to it. Generally the lyrics were from verses in the Bible or in the Talmud, just in terms of the research that I'd done about music and Judaism, and they were the themes of these songs that I wrote. So kind of had these little cards that I gave out, and I kind of had this whole explanation of the song, and then I played it. I remember the reaction at the end. I mean, it looked like one or two of the girls were maybe crying, and someone was like, play it again, and yeah, there was just quite a warm response in terms of connecting to the ideas and the themes of the songs that I'd written. And sometimes there was a reaction like, wow, did you write that? So the response was generally quite fulfilling and overwhelming in terms of really people like tuning into it. When you putting something out into the world that's coming from a very deep and personal space, if it's ignored and people don't really listen, then you can take it quite personally. So in terms of that initial reception and people like really connecting to it and relating to it and finding a lot of inspiration in it, it's quite a heartwarming feeling that it's touching someone, even if it's just one person. And then just over the years, I kind of always got involved in various bands. I was involved in a youth movement called B'nai Akiva, and I played in the band, and I, at some point got involved in playing at weddings, and that's kind of evolved to where I'm at now, playing with the chuppah band, and we played lots of weddings. And as I mentioned, it's just in a way, I feel like I'm really contributing and giving. It's kind of like a real outlet for me. In a way, in a selfish way, it's kind of there is the benefit to me of playing and giving and contributing in that way. It fulfills me. Even though I'm giving and I'm adding value, it also really, there's a lot in it for me. There's a Jewish phrase that says, "Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha," serve God with joy. And to me, that's quite an important thing. If we get stuck in this space of just doing stuff out of rote and out of duty and out of fear, but there's no space for this serving God out of joy, then to me there's something missing. And for me, music and singing and dancing and rejoicing is a crucial kind of piece of the whole puzzle. So particularly like when I'm playing at weddings, we're adding a huge amount of simcha and joy to people's lives, and it feels like I'm doing something quite deeply religious in that playing. What I would say to other aspiring musicians is, I mean, yeah, if I had to use my own life and my own journey as, you know, as a model, which I guess there probably is more than one model, but for me, I think initially it was about kind of getting out of my regular environment and just kind of opening myself up to inspiration, really, to being inspired by what's going on around me, to being inspired by Judaism and my heritage, and in a way, yeah, just really kind of opening myself up to that. And yeah, and really, in a way, just following the music and just, in a way, not overthinking it and just playing and allowing the music to kind of take me where it wants to go. And I think at the same time, there was, you know, opening up to the idea that we all have this song inside of us. And if we're aware of it and we open ourselves up to it, then we kind of it starts coming out. In a way, it sorts itself out. You know, if you believe there's a song and message inside of you, in a way, it finds its way out. We need to be open to it.
It's almost that time to say goodbye, but not before learning more about the very well-known chai symbol that is often present in the Jewish community. Rabbi Julia Margolis tells us more, and then we end off with some great music. Here's Uma'ayan by Pharaoh Roth.
In Judaism, everything has a meaning, and of course, each letter of alphabet, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, and so on, has also a number attached to it. The idea of chai comes from this connection between letters and numbers. Chai in Gematria will be 10 plus 8. Yud, 10, Chet is 8, 18 together, and it brings a lot of symbolism into our Jewish life. I'm sure that all of you saw movies, been to weddings, different celebrations, where we all have a toast for L'chaim, to life. And think about the Fiddler on the Roof. One of the famous songs in that musical is about life and symbolic number 18th. When you going to celebrate, let's say, a wedding or bar mitzvah, or you want to give a donation, you would have a number that connected to number 180, 360, and etc., etc. Of course, the meaning of life, chai, is one of the most important components of our life. And in our prayer, in Tfilat Hamidah, the standing prayer, we're talking about Tfilat HaShmonah, the 18th prayer. And we are commanded to recite it 3 times a day. And also, if you will think about it, Am Israel Chai, people of Israel are alive. Chai has a very important meaning in all our lives.
מבית השם יצא, מבית השם יצא, Maya, mi beta Hashem yetze, mi beta Hashem yetze. Umaya, mi beta Hashem yetze, mi beta Hashem yetze. Maya, mi beta Hashem yetze. V'hishka et nachal hashitim. V'hishka et nachal hashitim. Mi beta Hashem yetze, mi beta Hashem yetze. Maya, mi beta Hashem yetze. V'hishka et nachal, na 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 na. V'hishka et nachal. Nachal hashitim.
That brings us to the end of this week's episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a Facebook message at Spirit Sister Productions. From me, Jared Epstein, and the Simcha team, remember these words from the Holocaust child diarist Anne Frank. Whoever is happy will make others happy too. And if Anne Frank could find happiness, so can you.
Na 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 na. V'hishka et nachal.